Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Moonshots and Meatballs, your weekly baseball fix. I am Josh Sharf here with my co-host Andrew. Andrew, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Sharf. Started out the senior year at Indiana University, both of our school, and feeling good. Cubs have been hot. Can't complain, man.
Yeah, it's definitely good to be back. And for anybody wondering why last week there was not an episode is because, well, I had to move in at least, we had a lot of moving going on. I drove down, I believe, Monday. So a very hectic week last week. So we figured instead of doing a late episode Thursday, Friday, we got Monday coming up. We might as well just push it back a couple days more. But we're going to start off with a team playing in the Subway Series right now. They are currently beating the Mets at the time of this recording, 3-0. It is the top of the seventh. But the Yankees have been on a huge slide. They did beat Alex Manoah and the Blue Jays yesterday to avoid a sweep. But in the month of July, after coming off a 22-6 month in June, they go 13-13. Okay, you know what? Have a bad month, but it does not turn around. It does the opposite. In August, the Yankees are 5-14, and it's crazy enough how big their lead is still in their division. It is 8 games, but the fact that it was so out of reach, it was unheard of, and now you never know, it could still be possible for the Blue Jays to win the division is insane. Their addition of Frankie Montas instead of keeping Jordan Montgomery or going and giving a little more to get Castillo in Frankie Montas has not panned out. In 3 games, he has a 9 ERA with the Yankees, has not won a game, FIP at 5.55, a whip at 1.714. And the bats have not been there as well. Even Judge has had a bit of a kind of, I wouldn't say, he just hasn't been his normal self. But you know what? Hitters go through that. But
Yeah.
the entire team is batting in the month of August 216 with a 645 OPS as a team. And I know you're missing Stan. And I know you missed Rizzo a bit, but that is unacceptable.
Yeah, especially for a first place team with World Series aspirations. And they've made that clear all year that they want to be that team. And to kind of fizzle out near the end is a very Yankees thing. Well, a very Mets thing to do, but, just across the state.
It's crazy how much their demise has, the hill was so high and it's become so low. Here's a question for you. If the roles were reversed, say I heard this on Boomer and Carton. They talked about this. If the roles were reversed, they had a bad start, and then they came good. Do you think Boone would have been there for the good? Do you think they would have fired him by now then?
I don't know. Cashman doesn't really seem like the type of guy. I don't know if he makes the managerial decisions or.
He does. He has to. I know he's been hesitant, but Yankees fans would have been calling for his head, like they've been calling the past couple years.
I think he would have been safe, but that's a fun little exercise. I think they'd be in a way better state if they were hot right now.
Well, yes, because now you want to go be hot going into the playoffs, or the postseason. You do have another month, but if this continues, they're probably going to look to face maybe like the Blue Jays or the Mariners or the Rays. I don't really, or maybe it's the Twins or the Guardians who now have that spot, but unless it's the Guardians, if they're playing the Blue Jays, I don't really know, man.
I would take the Blue Jays in that series right now, betting odds.
Yeah, I like the Blue Jays pitching better. I think their lineup is more well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. This Yankees team is just in a collapse. I think they're 1-12 in their last playoff series. They haven't won a playoff series in a long time. So if they come out and they lose their first playoff series, I don't know if Cashman keeps his job just because of you were on the record to be the best regular season of all time, and you collapse and then lose your first playoff series.
I don't know about
And
Cashman losing his job. Cashman's the man, but
I
I could see Boone getting the boot if something goes down.
I definitely think Boone would be gone if they don't win a playoff series. I question whether Cashman will be there.
Okay, here's a question. Boone, if they lose the first round playoff series in embarrassing fashion too, or a fresh Joe Madden.
Maybe. Well, I'll tell you what. That 3-0 lead's now 3-2 as Danny Burgers, Daniel Vogelback home runs. So it's 3-2 now. So let's see. The Mets made a great comeback yesterday versus the Phillies. Down 4-0, tie it. Then they were down 7-4. Then they tie it. Then they go down 8-7. And then Canna puts them over the top. But it's this is an historic collapse for me. It really is. It's an historic collapse. And by the way, if you're hearing any of these creeps in the background, I'm sorry, this new house creeps a ton. So I'll try to negate that as much as possible. But if audience, if you are hearing that, I do apologize. There's not much I can do. I just moved in here.
I think we're good.
Yeah. But yeah, this I just can't, but it's just so crazy to me how they go from one end of the stick to the other. And I think they'll be okay for like winning the division, but to me, the Yankees fans have always been playoffs. It's all about the playoffs. It's all about the play. And now it's kind of like you see what they were worried about a bit at some time.
I think this is the exact reason why you lock up a guy like Rizzo long term is for times like this. He's had the postseason experience. He's been with losing teams and he's been on those runs through pretty much everything an MLB player has. You need the leader like that in your clubhouse for times like these. So we'll see if that move pays off for them and if he kind of shines bright in these moments to get them back on track.
Well, all right. Now a player who has really struggled, as we just talked about a team really struggling, former closer for the Milwaukee Brewers, and now former closer for the San Diego Padres as they're going closing by committee, apparently, is Josh Hader.
Yeah, I mean, 5 out of his last 6 starts in Milwaukee, I think his ERA was over, like, just in that span, his ERA was like 25. Like, he'd just gotten absolutely obliterated. But I mean, people still thought, Josh Hader is Josh Hader, but I guess the Brewers were onto it early.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard again to see like the complete collapse. And I know, again, relief pitchers are super hard to kind of predict and stuff like they can very wonky because of how much they pitch, the short of innings they pitch. But for him to go from where he was in, I know last year he didn't have a great, or he had a fantastic year. Excuse me, I'm looking at the total for this year. A fantastic year in 1.23 ERA last year, his best year. And he also has a 2.08 2017, 28 2.43, 2019 2.62. Little bit of a down year in 2020, but that was the COVID year, so only 60 games. So if you have a bad game or two that as a reliever that really screws you, he had a 3.79. Still, I believe led the league in saves that year.
This guy was still even an all-star at the beginning of the season. Like the first half, he was dealing.
Yeah, and now I mean he wasn't great with Milwaukee, 4.24, but definitely you would thought that he would improve, and instead he goes the opposite way. 16.2 ERA with the Padres. Do you think he has any chance? Do you think he bounces back? Because
no.
I think. Listen, it's his contract year. He is currently, I think he's 28. Yeah, all right, I thought he was 29. He's 28 years old, still a young man. I personally believe he's going to bounce back a bit. I don't think he'll ever be in that elite closer range. I think he'll be, instead of maybe that top 3, maybe he'll be top 10, 15. I don't think he'll ever get back to that elite status, but to say that all of a sudden this dude just fell off a cliff, it just doesn't make, again, like similar, more crazy than it just doesn't make sense to me because it's not like a team where some parts break. This is one person just absolutely
You
falling
kinda
off a
see
cliff.
that. You see that sometimes with these elite relief pitchers. I mean, a guy like Kimbrel went on that dominant stretch. People are like Hall of Famer. Is he going to be the all-time? Is he going to challenge Mariano? Went to a bit of a slump for a couple years. Had that resurgence in Chicago. Right now, he's kind of down again. And then you look at a guy like Andrew Miller, who for 2 years was legitimately one of the most unhittable pitchers in all of baseball, let
That
alone.
lefty was over. You could no
And
lefty could hit it.
and now, I mean, you don't hear anything. You didn't hear anything about him after he fell off from that. So it's kind of just
Another one I think is
one of
Kenley
those.
Jansen. I think he had 1 year where he wasn't great with the Dodgers, and then the next year he just bounced back and had a great year and earned himself a big contract with the Braves. And is he part of that elite tier of relievers anymore? No, but he's still a very good reliever and a solid closer. So I think that's the kind of a path I think I see in Josh Hader. Kind of, he was always better than Kenley Jansen, but I think he'll be around that level for now on, which is
I
still
could,
very good.
I could
So
very easily see like the Rockies or like a team like the Diamondbacks throw him a big contract just because.
I think it's maybe, but I don't know if he'll ever regain his form with the Padres. Maybe after this year, but I do think he'll bounce back. But maybe the Brewers were right to cash in on him. Maybe, but that doesn't mean the Brewers are doing much better, and they have been terrible since the trade deadline. They have lost their division top of spot in their central division in the NL. They are not currently in a wild card spot. They're sitting outside the playoffs. They are currently 5 games out of their division. And in the wild card race, they sit a game and a half back of the Philadelphia Phillies. And this, again, the pitching, you're supposed to be fantastic. And in the past week, I would say, you're still getting decent from Corbin Burns got hit around a tad, giving up 3 earned runs in 6 innings, which is, again, a little odd for Corbin Burns, but still, that's not terrible. He gets you through 6. That's technically a quality start. But their bullpen wasn't great. Milner gave up a lot. Devin Williams, I believe, lost a lead for them or blew a save.
Yeah.
And
I mean, when you into a buzzsaw like the Chicago Cubs, it's kind of hard to stay hot. But
and their bats just don't scare me at all. Well, for the season, they don't have anybody batting above 260. Not a single person for the season batting above 260. You don't have anybody above an OPS. I think above an 830. I think Rowdy Tellez is the closest, and he brings no defensive value for you whatsoever. I like his bat. Like, I'll say it twice. But the dude brings no defensive values. It should be strictly a DH, but you got McCutchen playing DH because the dude's 49 years old. And so you got Tellez playing first, and he gives no defensive value. So
there's no one in this lineup that scares you at all whatsoever going through.
I feel like there's a bunch of good guys who are good, who should be good back end, or maybe like a Yelich could be a solid 5 hitter in his career right now, 5-6. Adames maybe is a leadoff guy, but he needs to hit it for a bit more contact. But you'll like the kind of game he brings if you can build around him. Luis Arias, but Hunter Renfroe's been I think their best player this year.
Yeah,
and he came via trade late for Jackie Bradley Jr., which was a great trade because Jackie Bradley Jr. sucked this year, and he continues. He can't hit a beach ball, but this lineup, just Colton Wong doesn't scare me. Tyrone Taylor, Keston Hiura, Luis Arias. I'm not huge. Luis Arias in the last 6 games, 20 at bats. Can you tell me how many hits he has?
0.
That is correct. He has 0 hits, 0 walks. He has a on base percentage of 0. He has a 0 for the week. How are you that for a week? Crazy to me.
To the Brewers front office for seeing this coming and going and getting a haul.
And you knew coming into the year that they needed help with bats. They didn't do much. They got you Hunter Renfroe. Nice addition. Trade deadline. They need more bats. You got one of the best pitching rotations in baseball with the three-headed monster of Burns, Peralta, and Woodruff. And now, even though you trade a hitter, you still got a top-end reliever in Devin Williams.
Yeah, Devin Williams.
You can't hit. You got to be able to support your team. I feel bad for Brewers fans knowing that their GM wants to be competitive, can be competitive, push them to be competitive, but won't go that extra mile. That just the one extra step to put them in World Series contention, but just won't do it for some reason. Won't sacrifice enough.
Will never be good just because they're never going to spend. I mean, even going back to like 2012 when they traded.
You don't even need to spend that much. You don't even need to get the best of the best. Just guys who scare. Even you got a couple home run guys. Go get some on base guys. Somebody who can hit 280, 290. Gets on base, and then maybe get a couple, like one more power hitter that scares you, who can hit 30 or 20 home runs in a season. But you don't need much. You really need like 2 or 3 players, and this becomes a World Series contender. You can't tell me that's not true. I mean, you add, all right, so if you add somebody like, I'm trying to say, like a Benintendi. Now, Benintendi might have costed he didn't really cost that much. But if you had Benintendi as maybe like, so it's Adames, Benintendi, Yelich, Rowdy Tellez, Luis Arias, and then you add like another bat or two in that like rotation. 2 more bats, let's say. So Benintendi, you had a power guy. I'm trying to think of a power guy that they could have. Maybe they had like a Daniel Vogelbach or I don't know. I'm just trying to think. And then another average guy, maybe. I'm trying to process this on like who could be on the market, who's a free agent. But you know what I'm saying? They don't need much to really put themselves in the next tier of teams, and they are just unwilling to do it. And it is frustrating. Even as a Brewers fan, it is frustrating.
I think give it a year or 2 tops, and the Brewers could be very much at the bottom of the Central.
I don't see that just because of how studs their pitching are.
Well, yeah,
Burns is entering his prime. Brandon Wood, how old is Wood? Peralta's young, I believe. He's mid to late
26. Yeah,
26. Brandon Woodruff is 29. These guys are all below 30, really.
Yeah.
So I don't. If they lock, I assume they'll be able to at least lock up 2 of the 3.
But you gotta have hitters, man.
Yeah, you got to be able to put the ball in play, man. You have to be able to put the ball in play, make contact, and then you can still have those home runs, but you got to be able to put barrel to the ball. Now, that might not be a great story for Brewers fans. This also might not be a great story for Brewers fans. So I will end today's show for right now. But around baseball, probably not the biggest, but the most heartwarming story right now. The machine, Abert Pujols, right now is an absolute machine right now. In his past 15 games, he has 37 at-bats. Or we'll start, excuse me, because it takes away from the home runs. We'll start for the last 7 games. 7 games, 18 at-bats, 11 hits, 5 home runs in the past 7 games. 5 home run, 2 multi-home run games, a grand slam a part of that. He is, in the last 7 games, he is batting .611 with a .650 on base percentage and a .1444 slug. He is hitting a 2,000 OPS for the last 7 days. The last 15 days, he's hitting .432 with a .946 on base. And the last 30 games, excuse me, these are all games, by the way. 7 games, 15 games, 30 games. 30 games, batting .405 with an .810 slug. Excuse me. And before I said last 15 games, .946 OPS, .946 slug. So his OPS the last 30 games is around 1,200.
Even for the season, his OPS plus is higher than his career right now, which is,
and he's put himself above 100 career WAR. And just watching a guy who loves the game, such a good dude, has given so much to the game. To see him have this like kind of last revival, last hurrah, it is so much fun to see and so much fun to watch.
As much as I hate the Cardinals with a burning passion, it really makes me happy that I get to see Albert Pujols as prime Pujols one more time, because I mean, he's legitimately one of the best baseball players ever.
You could argue he's the best first baseman of all time. He is. If you say that, I am not gonna. I could disagree with you. I could not. But it's an argument.
I mean, as it sits right now, he is 20th in career WAR all time. One of the 20 best baseball players of all time. Like, and could be up for argument for one of the best right-handed hitters of all time.
Agreed. Now, does he get to the 700 home run mark, though? He's got, I don't know how many, around 30 games, I believe they have left, the Cardinals. You know, he needs 8. He needs 8 more. If you are, I know what you want him to hit it. I want him to hit it. The world of baseball wants him to hit it. Cardinals fans are praying for him to get it. But you're putting your college tuition, you're putting your life savings on this bet. Does he get to 700?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I like it.
In me, I need to see another home run chase at the end of the season, you know? And what better place to do that than St. Louis?
I can't agree with you more. Hold on. I'm counting the games. So he's got 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 42 games, I think I counted. If my math is
home runs.
Correct. What?
He's got 42 games to hit 8 home runs.
42 games. I say he gets at least 6. I
really hope that he gets close. So at the end of the year,
it's like everybody's just like I'll have you. Everybody's gonna be watching the Cardinals games. Just like 698. You hear that? Because you heard the announcer. He's like 690 for Pujols. 690. Why he's going? Just counting them down, and everybody's just like, come on, Albert, couple more. Just
as long as go ahead, man.
I should be like, empty the tank, man. Just empty it all. Give me what you got. I want it.
As long as 700 doesn't come against my Cubbies, I'm all for it. He's going to do it.
If it comes against your Cubbies, are you going to be mad? I mean, they're not in like a playoff race. It's not like.
I don't think I'd be mad. I think I'd kind of respect it.
All right, here's a question. We are technically in Bloomington. Let's say it's October. I don't know. Here, hold on. When do they play the Cubs the last? Let's look at this. The Cardinals. Let's look. Do they play the Cubs in October? They don't. Do they play them in late September? Oh, they don't. Last time they played the Cubs is September 2nd. Really? That's quite frustrating. All right. Just say he's at 699 during that Cubs series. You making the trip to go watch just in case, even though it could be against the Cubs?
I'll tell you what, if these classes aren't crazy, I just might. But
I might come with you if the prices aren't that ludicrous. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, that's baseball history.
It's something that if you imagine you catch the ball as well. I mean, I'd give it back to Albert.
If I caught that ball, with
some hopefully some compensation a bit, but
if I wouldn't. Caught that ball at Wrigley in the bleachers, it's getting thrown back on the field.
No,
yeah.
Bro, you.
My whole life, I've wanted to catch an opponent's home run ball more than to catch. I
understand that, but you know how much that ball could be worth. They'll give the Baseball Hall of Fame would give you probably like $10,000.
Okay, but do you know how cool it would be to be the guy who throws Pujols 700 back on the field?
No, that would not be cool. That would not be cool. Oh my God, I can't believe you. I cannot believe you just said that. But yeah, we're in the middle of basically winding down August. Only got 9-10 more days left of August. Playoff pictures are really starting to come in, in the AL. You got really who's the only fighting left. You got the Twins, who could make a run at their division with the Guardians coming. We'll tack on the Guardians next week a bit as they
Those
have taken.
Guardians, man.
Yeah, we'll tack on them next week. But Chicago 3 games back and Minnesota a game and a half back of Cleveland. In the wild card, I think it's kind of set. Boston's out. I don't think the Orioles are gonna really make that last push.
Yeah.
And the only team really who can affect, I believe, the NL wild card is the Brewers. But I don't. We've just talked about it. I don't see it. So I think it's kind of set. It's just kind of where everybody lands.
Yeah.
But that'll do it for this episode of Moonshots and Meatballs. Thank you guys so much for watching. Can't wait for this next week of baseball. We will be back next week. We are on our regularly scheduled hits or releases, as you would say, now that we are back and kind of getting into that school grind. We can have our routines and our schedules. And don't worry, your routine of listening to Moonshots and Meatballs will not be broken. So thank you.
Love all the fans. Thanks for listening.
Yes,
guys.
thank you guys so much for listening. And we'll see you on the other side.